can't tell you how many people have said, oh, Facebook doesn't work for me. Like, well, it's working for your competition. It's working for these guys. It's working for that guys. Is it possible that it's not Facebook, that it maybe is you? Just because something doesn't work once doesn't mean it doesn't work. It means maybe something you didn't work. If you've got a sales team and you're running it by fear, you're the problem, not the sales team. If you've got a sales team and they love you and they love the company that they work with and they love the customers that they're serving, it's a recipe of tremendous success. There's a lot of data that says if you respond to an incoming inquiry within 5 minutes, you get a 400% better chance of it becoming a customer. Most kids' activity centers are terrible at marketing themselves. A parent comes through and says, oh, I didn't know you exist. And then they find out that that mum has been there for 20 years and didn't know you existed.
Andy, thank you so much for joining me on today's episode. Really appreciate you being here out in Arizona.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Incredibly warm weather today, but we are getting
That's
through.
why I dressed really coolly.
That's it. Well, I'd love to start off. So for today's episode, we're going to be talking a little bit more about your background, what it is that you do in business, your experience through sales and your experience through your business journey, and just to share a little bit of insights about what it is that you've learned along the way. So Andy, do you mind just starting off telling us a little bit about you, your business, and what it is that you do?
Me, okay. Andy Seeley. I am originally from New Zealand. Came over to the United States in 1999, coaching rugby, funnily enough, rugby coach, and met a girl, a gymnastics coach, and decided to stick around longer. And fast forward till today, through going through all sorts of stuff over 27 years, I guess, now, which seems like a long time, doesn't it? 27 years. Now I'm CEO of Creatively Disruptive, which is a digital marketing agency that specializes in, well, there's multiple brands, I guess, but we'll say Creatively Disruptive is the mothership. So really focusing on kids' activity centers and service-based local businesses that want to attract attention and communicate more effectively with the community, basically generating leads and inquiries and so forth. And we not only do that, we also help them get a little bit better at what they do, because a lot of small local businesses tend to be run by what I call technicians, which aren't necessarily entrepreneurs. They're very good at baking cakes or plumbing pipes or coaching gymnastics, but they're not necessarily business people. So they need a little bit of support to make sure that whatever efforts we're doing actually pay off and makes it worth. So a lot of our efforts is actually above and beyond marketing. And we also do some e-com work with another brand, Ashworth Strategy. And it's kind of the same, just e-commerce. So a lot of people who start e-commerce brands tend to have a dream and an idea, and a lot of them seem to think that, hey, I'll start an e-commerce brand and become a millionaire overnight. And we have to kind of help them walk through, hey, how are you doing these things right? Are you doing those things right? We don't just run ads. We try to help them create a business around it.
Yeah, and I know that from working with you for a long time now, one of the things that a lot of the clients that you work with struggle with is really taking that hobby and that passion and the thing that they love and really turning it into a business rather than something kind of ticking along. And I know that's something that you coach in. Do you mind talking a little bit about how you ended up coaching people from the business side of things as well and getting them to really grow through the marketing and the structure that you talk about?
Right. Well, especially on the kids' activity side, we owned a kids' activity center for a while, for about 12 years, I want to say. My wife being a gymnastics coach, a registered USAG gymnastics coach, coached to quite a high level. She wanted to own her own gym, so we bought one. We went out there and did it. I worked for a television station as a sales director, and she ran the gym. And we went through some pretty tough times during the Great Recession in 2008 and came out the other side, learned a whole bunch of stuff. I started another media company where it was mainly focused on hotel rooms and tourism and blah, 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 blah. We got through both of those. Those were both a little bit of a struggle towards the end for many reasons. The tourist, because it was mainly publishing, so it was a lot of magazines and people were going away from magazines. Gymnastics because of the Great Recession and all the troubles that people had with that. In about 2015, we started Creatively Disruptive with my business partner, Russell. And a lot of that was around a lot of small business owners are alone and feel alone and don't know all the things that they need to know to get to where they need to be. And we wanted to start a company that kind of held their hand, so to speak. There's a saying that I share a lot with our clients, and that is both Russell and I at different times before Creatively Disruptive used to stare at the ceiling at 3 a.m. and wonder how we were going to get through the next day, not having anybody to call to get help from. And what we want to do, because we're not going to stop you from staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m., but we do want to be that person that you think, okay, hey, when I get up at 8 a.m., I'm going to call Creatively Disruptive or talk to Andy and see if we can come up with a plan to solve this issue that I have. And we've dealt with all sorts of things over the last 10 years that we've been in business. I mean, we've had clients worrying about warehouse sizes and how they're going to deal with that. We've had clients worry about staffing issues, how they're going to make payroll. I had one client last year, say, hey, I've got a loan. I've got myself into a terrible position. I make $60,000 a month, but I've got a loan payment of $40,000, and I'm really getting into a bad place. What should I do? And I walked through what I would have done, or what I would do, and we walked through all the different options that you can have, from the really worst possible case scenario and how that would look, all the way through to a better case scenario, and we hold their hand. And we don't say, well, hey, we run Facebook ads, I don't know about that. We actually embrace it and hold it. And between myself and Russell, we've got probably 50, 60 years of business management experience. And we've also got 120 something clients, all of whom have gone through good times and bad times and have best practices and don't practices. And we try to really share that. So I don't know if I really answered that question. I went into a long
No, you
diatribe,
did.
but
I mean, the nice thing that comes through from what you're saying is there's so many marketing agencies, and we see them everywhere, where it could be, bless their enthusiasm, but an 18-year-old who started up a marketing agency from their bedroom, and they're selling the world to clients, and they pour a lot of ad spend into them, and it never actually gets anywhere, through to larger marketing agencies that do a great job of the sales process, close the deals, maybe pressure sell them in, but then ultimately don't deliver on the back end and leave them worse off. What you're doing is the absolute opposite, to be able to support them not only with the structure of that marketing strategy on the front end, but then also to say, okay, well, this is how you sustainably grow based on that situation. Do you think that's fair to say?
Yeah, our goal, which is very different to most agencies, and I think most people who might watch this might feel the same way. Most agencies aren't looking for a long-term relationship with you.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many people that will say, I've worked with 4 or 5 agencies. I mean, in the agency world, the agencies oftentimes will say to, oh, that person's a problem. That's a red flag. And sometimes it's true. Sometimes there are customers out there that just blow through agency after agency, and there is a problem there. But what's the unwritten rule, so to speak, or the non-mentionable, is that many agencies, they plan it that way. They don't expect you to stick with them for very long. They look to get as much out of you as they can in that shorter period of time, usually 3 or 4 months.
Gosh.
And after that period, they expect you to leave. If you stay longer, bonus. If you don't, they kind of planned it anyway. All of their power is in their sales team and their own marketing, not necessarily delivering for you. One of our main metrics is, and I think we share these metrics with you, is retention.
Yep.
Our goal is to keep you for life, right? So we're not always successful at keeping people for life, but our very first client that we brought on in the Kids Activity Center around 10 years ago is still a client today.
Oh.
So when we went through COVID, she actually had to close her business down. Not permanently, but during that period. But she continued paying us because she was concerned about our ability to stay alive.
Oh.
And she said to us, which meant a lot, and to this day means a lot, that she felt that we were her heartbeat. So she didn't want to potentially lose us, because she knew that she was going to need us when she reopened the doors. And building that kind of relationship is really important. And I think we do things differently. And one of the reasons why we actually ended up engaging with you is we do things differently, and we wanted that whole experience to be very different right from the beginning to the end. And, I think most people that engage with us very quickly feel different than what they do, especially if they've operated with another agency.
It's real people working with real people.
Yeah.
I think that's what you're definitely getting.
And that we care. I mean, we've been accused of caring more about people's businesses than they do.
I mean, definitely a positive.
Right.
So I guess if anybody's listening to this and thinking, well, I'm really nervous about finding an agency or moving marketing along in my business because I just haven't seen the return, what would you tell them to be looking for and avoiding if they were looking for an agency or looking for a partner in the marketing space?
I would say, first of all, avoid anybody that's looking for you to pay 3 or 4 months up front. because that's likely to be somebody who's what I said they were, right? They don't only expect you to be there for about 3 or 4 months. They might have some program that they say, oh yeah, we'll get this all set up. We'll do all the work for you. 3 or 4 months, it'll be done. The magic thing to think about is that they'll charge you your credit card. 3 or 4 months later, you can't get a charge back on that credit card and they've screwed you over and you're out 15, 20 grand, right? So I would avoid like the plague anybody that wants a large upfront payment because I don't think it's necessary. We don't ever ask for large upfront payments. I mean, depending on what's going on, there might be a large payment, but it's not like an upfront payment. It's like part of the process payment. So avoid that. Look for agencies that are interested in what you are trying to accomplish personally. If it's all about number of leads or blah, 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 and they don't dig down harder or deeper than that, like we will go to the point where we'll ask, how many kids do you have? We've got 2. Okay. Do you want to send them to college? Yeah, we need to send them. Okay. How much money do you need to send them to college? Where do you want to go on vacation? Do you want to renovate your house? Do you want a new house? What kind of cars do you want? We actually have part of what's called a 12Q plan. Part of that is finding out what you personally want. And the clients that dig really deep into it and go, oh, I would love to renovate my kitchen. And I want to go on this amazing, Caribbean cruise, every year. And I want to do this and I want to do that. And they actually load it all out and they go, oh, geez, I need to earn $350,000.
Yeah.
Especially in the kind of clients that we have, a lot of them aren't earning up $350,000, but we're then able to look at that and go, okay, $350,000 profit. How do we back that out? So how many leads need to be created per month? How much do those leads need to cost? What's your close rate need to be? What is your cost per acquisition? What is your value per customer? We can start going through all of that to the point that we realize, oh man, you need 25 clients a month and you need to have it at this price point. And for you to have 25 clients a month, we need to get you 75 inquiries. To get you those 75 inquiries at this cost means you need to be budgeting, $5,000 a month, let's say. And at $5,000 a month, if we do that and close it at this rate, you will have your $350,000 per year income by year 3. That's kind of going very detailed into what's going on. But if you've got an agency that really doesn't care about that stuff, I would just be caution. I'd caution myself on it because I'm not interested in what you're trying to build. Because no small business, even us, I'm not interested in advertising on Facebook because I want to be on Facebook.
Yeah.
I'm trying to accomplish something for myself. And if my agency understands it, or any professional, including you, understands what you're trying to accomplish for yourself, I think it makes that relationship much more powerful.
I mean, it's such a fascinating piece about the plan that you speak about there, because I wonder how many gym owners that you speak to or activity centers that you speak to who've actually ever had the time to think about that. Because I know from working with your team for a long time, a lot of the calls that you have, people are so buried and busy under what they're currently doing. There's no chance to look above the pulpit. So what's your experience when you sit down to have that conversation? Do people know what they want?
No.
How is that process for people?
Sometimes people have never thought about what they want. They're just trying to get by. We get a lot of clients come in and it's emergency stations. They're trying to be rescued, which is difficult. We have a number of clients that come in, they just they feel that things could be better, but a lot of clients don't have a clear understanding of what they want to accomplish. And I think that's a real major problem with most businesses, at least small businesses. They don't have a real clear purpose. And I always, if I get dragged in, I usually come in from a consulting standpoint and I'll talk to them about, what's your exit strategy? Do you want to grow this to your 75 or 60 or whatever the age is and sell it? How much does it need to be worth to sell it? Okay, what do you need to do to make it worth that amount of money? We can. When you've got something that you're going for, all of a sudden everything else kind of lines up and there's a more reason to do it. The clients that we get that have no goals apart from more, they just want more, oftentimes are really difficult to work with and very difficult to get results for. And they also tend to, as soon as something gets tough or something breaks or something's not right, they give up. So, I think probably one of the biggest success traits of any really successful entrepreneur is the ability to not give up. Because usually the giving up is, if you just don't give up and you just keep trying, you usually will get the success you're looking for. But it's so hard to not give up if you don't have a reason, you don't have a goal. I look at it like a boat. I use this all the time. you own a boat. Maybe it's a large boat, it's a sailing boat. You've got a crew. If you are on the deck, swabbing the decks, pulling up the sails, darning the sails, or even if you're the helmsman, but no one's decided to go anywhere, the boat will tend to just sit there. Or if there's wind, it will just blow away somewhere.
The wrong direction.
And you could get yourself into trouble. A well-run business, the captain of the ship or the captain of the business will be in the captain's room, the captain's quarters, with all the charts out front, and they're like, okay, we are going to go to this port. That's where we're going. All of a sudden, the crew all starts working in unison. All of a sudden, the helmsman can do things with purpose. The first mate can be calling orders because they have purpose for what they're doing, and that has to come from the captain. And oftentimes, businesses don't have that, and that is a struggle. And we try to inject that into them because they do actually have them. Sure. They just haven't thought about them or put it into. That's why we always come from the point of view of quite personal, and some of them are. I think you asked, how do they behave with it? Some of them don't like it; they feel like we're prying. But the ones that get it understand what we're trying to do. We're trying to figure out what port you want to go to.
Yeah, for sure.
So much easier for us as part of your crew to take you to that port if you tell us that's where you want to go. It's
fascinating because I think with the types of people that you're working with in the gym space, for example, I know there's chair studios that you work with or chair groups are so competitive maybe in what they usually do, and they're inspired, and they are people who have a really hard work ethic. And I wonder whether often we put so much energy into what we're trying to do in our business to help other people, the kids, for example, the families, the parents that you're working with. It's easy to forget yourself and kind of fall down that route. So I think it's just a really nice piece that you're spending that time to help them come back to where they are and just feel that fulfillment and where they're going. Because you don't help yourself first, you can't help anybody afterwards.
And you're a little bit of a serial entrepreneur. I definitely am a bit of an entrepreneur, but most people are technicians. I use that word from the point of view that most gymnastics gyms or kids activity centers, dance schools, swim schools, whatever it is, they are founded by a swim coach, a gymnastics coach, a great dancer, right? And they just want to coach gymnastics. They just want to coach. They just don't want to be a dance teacher. That's what they're doing, and they create this business around them because just being a dance teacher doesn't necessarily pay you enough to be able to buy a house or pay for a car or whatever. So they create this business around so they can earn enough money to do it. But outside of that, they haven't thought much about it. Like a baker loves baking cakes and loves putting together amazing birthday cakes or wedding cakes or whatever. And that's about as much as they've thought about it. And they're like, well, I don't want to work in an office. I love baking cakes. How do I make money baking cakes? I want to build a business. But that's about as far as they go with it. And oftentimes for real financial success, and maybe even to reach way more people and to make a bigger impact on more people, you've got to think a little bit bigger than that, or a little bit broader, especially if I feel that if you're a baker and you just have your own little kitchen and you're just yourself and you're baking cakes and you're selling those cakes and it's making enough money, blah, 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 that's fine. But as soon as you start hiring people, especially if you start hiring somebody who's a full-timer and all of a sudden their dreams are attached to your dreams, you kind of owe it to them to actually really think about things and to actually push things through. I like success. I like to have some comforts. I like to feel like I'm doing a really good job, and having that plan and if I didn't have that plan, me and you wouldn't have met.
Of course.
Right? That was part of me going, I want this to happen. I'm not happy with what we're doing right now. How do I add this extra piece that is also self-running where I don't have to be wholly responsible for it, but also, I don't necessarily feel like I have all the answers here. Let's bring in more. And I truly do believe, and I think a lot of small businesses tend to hold on to things really tightly, and they're like, I want to have 100% of this pie instead of let's create a pie this big, and if I can get this chunk of it, I'll be doing really well. And they tend to shy away from building teams and building groups of people around them. And I truly believe that business is a team sport, and you have your specialists, right? And you pull those specialists in, and we're a specialist, and we're becoming a little bit more generalist just because so many people need some help.
Definitely.
But we are specialists in with certain areas, and you need to bring in those specialists like yourself, like an accountant, an attorney, and blah, blah, blah. And you bring in somebody who really brings something special and are very, very good at it, because your team and your company will hopefully rise to that level instead of trying to be everything yourself.
I think you've hit the nail on the head though with that last statement of trying to do it all on your own. Because I think a common theme with what you've just explained, with all the stories you've told there, is the risk piece. And risk is really scary, especially if you've built something on your own. And I know that often in this space, specifically with marketing, sometimes business owners, they test and they play around and they might put some money into boosting some Facebook posts, or they might try and set up an ad on their own and often spend a bit of money there and don't really get a return, or they'll get some leads, but they're just tire kickers and not the right types of people. So they end up relying just on maybe referrals or some networks. So it can be a really tricky place to get stuck into. What would you say to somebody who's kind of tested that and has thought, oh, I don't know, I've fallen out of love with ads, or I'm quite frightened of having to put more money into it? Because that's a big thing, is taking a little bit of a risk there. What would your advice be to somebody in that position?
I can't tell you how many people have said, oh, Facebook doesn't work for me. Like, well, it's working for your competition. It's working for these guys. It's working for that guys. Is it possible that it's not Facebook, that it maybe is you? I mean, if you've been married more than once, you probably decided at some point that the first marriage wasn't a good one. I'm going to get married again.
Yep.
You might have had more than one car because you got rid of a car, because at some point, just because something doesn't work once doesn't mean it doesn't work. It means maybe something you didn't work.
Sure.
Maybe it wasn't the right person that was involved with you. Maybe you didn't have the right team, blah, 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 blah. There's a million different reasons. Goes back to that thing that I said about not giving up. It's like, just because you failed or fell over the first time doesn't mean that's how the world is. You got to get up and try a different way and try a different way and look at different things and solve it. You know, I literally had a client just before COVID who said to me, when we went through the whole process, we worked through it all. It wasn't a client, it was a prospect. Lots of courting their business. And they decided, we've decided we're not going to go with any digital marketing. We're going to stick with our local newspaper, and we've got they had like the discount coupon books and stuff. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This is like from years back.
Gosh.
And I was like, why is that? And we just don't think it works. And I'm like, Facebook is like at that point, Facebook was like $100 billion a year business. I'm like, they're making $100 billion a year in gross revenue. Surely that's not because they don't work.
Yeah.
Google works. You do use Google. Oh yeah, but it doesn't seem to work for us. Why is that? And well, they just didn't believe that it would work for them because they tried it themselves and it didn't work. And I'm like, well, you haven't tried it with us, and we're telling you it's going to work. But ultimately they couldn't get over it because they felt that whatever they were doing that wasn't working was just the way the world is, and they limited themselves down to what their little world would be instead of broadening it out. And it's about not giving up and figuring out a new way to do it. Today we had a meeting with the team, a sales meeting with the team. You'd be interested to know. The conversation was about a tool that we use and about, well, we're not going to use the tool in this way because it didn't quite work. And I said to them, well, does that mean we just stop using the tool, or does that mean we make the tool better and improve it? Instead of what was happening was one of our staff members decided that they would just do it themselves.
Right.
But this is an automated AI tool, and it just needed some finessing to get better. And, the human couldn't quite keep the pace that we needed.
Sure.
So I said to them, when did we start in this company deciding that it was better to just give up on something and move on? And thankfully the management team, they had a chat with me afterward, and they said, we haven't given up on anything. It was just the team had said that they would rather just do it themselves. We'll make sure that we start working through that. And so even in our company, this kind of mindset comes in, and I'm like, and this is something that needs to be fired and removed from the company because it's a bad thing. It should always be about improvement, right? It should be all about better never stops. Hey, I'm really good at something. Well, how do you be great? Oh, I'm really great at something. Well, how do I become amazing? It's better never stops. And I mean, we have to do that in our industry. I mean, I'm not sure about because you're a human industry. You're all about humans, which is a very good industry to be in. We're kind of much more attached to the technology side of things, and it's moving so quickly that better never stops.
No. And you touched on an interesting point because you briefly mentioned AI. within your business. But I think something, especially within my clients, I'm seeing more and more of now is the injection of AI, things speeding up with AI. And there's going to be soon a really, really big shift. So I think with your industry or the industry that you're supporting, there's not only a competition for if you're running paid ads successfully and a marketing ecosystem that works, but there's now an even bigger divide that's slowly slipping, well, quite quickly slipping in between. Are you running a marketing ecosystem and are you powered by AI to do more? Or are you going to become sadly extinct in the next year? I think it's coming quite rapidly. What are you seeing in terms of AI with the clients that you're working with?
To me, AI is still a tool. It's not going to kill us yet. It's a tool like word processors. I guess it's a tool like typewriters.
Yeah.
You know, we used to write by hand. We used to chisel stone tablets, and we've just slowly got better and better at technology to help us. And I look at AI right now as more of an assistant. It's like a general assistant. You don't need to hire a person to do the research on whatever you're looking into. You can have your AI go out and it does all the research, pulls it all back, and you know, it's about asking it more and more questions. Anybody that's using AI should, especially if they're using it as a research tool, you don't just say, hey, find this information, then it finds the information. You can just go, okay, that must be the information.
Yeah.
Have 10 or 12 prompts or questions or whatever that you want throwing back into it to really refine it to make it really good. And AI has become basically an assistant. Our AI is more along the lines of follow-up and allowing gyms to have one singular person that gets amplified over a 24-hour period, so things can be happening all the time without that person having to work all the time, and you know, allows them to basically amplify their ability to, you know, communicate with their people. AI just generally, I think, is an amazing tool used correctly, where you look at it as how can it take away some of the wasted, well, not wasted, but hours that are kind of, if I say that my hourly rate's worth $500, should I be doing some research on this or that? Is that worth $500 an hour in research? Would I pay $500 for that research? But is it still important information? No, I would get an assistant to do it. Now, if I have a human assistant to do it, are they going to get it to me quickly? Or is it going to take them 2 weeks to find the kind of information that I need? Or can I use my AI tool? Like I use ChatGPT, it's called Jane.
Oh.
So I just ask Jane, and Jane starts looking through it all and pulls all the stuff together, asks more questions. And within 15 minutes, I have what my assistant would have taken maybe 2 weeks to collate. And I now have it all in front of me. And then I can ask it to do things with it. And then I've got it, right? So, I don't know if I've answered the question, but I've gone further. And the way it's come for us, like AI really came to us through an evolution of what we were doing. When we first started our company, we were just building websites. Russell, my business partner, was a very good website developer. I was a decent sales guy. I would spend all my time going out trying to find somebody to sell a website to. Then we were like, okay, we're getting these good websites. We have two problems. One, we have clients that want traffic to the website. So maybe we should fill in the gap there. This is 10 years ago. And then two, instead of me going out and knocking on doors trying to sell websites, maybe we should be able to develop a way to get people to reach to me. So I can invert the 95% trying to find someone to talk to and make it 95% talking to people about buying websites.
Smart.
So we did that. And then we had clients with websites and traffic. And then it was like, okay, they're getting these leads, but they're busy doing whatever they want to do. They want to be coaches. They want to be this. They want to be that. How do we, what do we do with that, right? In fact, there was another step in between where my business partner came up with a strategy where it allowed parents or customers to reach out to you in the way that they felt most comfortable, because we found that the data showed that if somebody could reach out to you in the way they felt comfortable rather than the way you were forcing them to reach out, they were much more likely to reach out.
Interesting.
So all of our marketing started having, you could call the place, you could email the place, you could message the place, you could, walk in, you could do whatever, communicate with that business however way you felt most comfortable. But then the problem was the client had all these different things to manage and all these different people reaching out at all these different ways, and they had loads of inquiries, but they didn't feel that they could manage it. And that's when we came up with the AI that we've put together, because, hey, I mean, we had a guarantee of like 90 inquiries a month.
Wow.
And we did generate those 90
Yeah.
inquiries a month, but the client was overwhelmed by it and was getting frustrated. We were losing clients because it was stressful. So then we created the AI to deal with all of the inquiries. And that's kind of like the evolution over 10 years of kind of how we're like, oh, we've solved this problem, but this has caused this problem. Or we've solved this problem, this has caused this problem. And the AI now is to the point where it's allowing, say, a plumber who's underneath a sink trying to tighten up a bolt, and he's getting a phone call in from somebody who wants a quote. The AI can, respond to that call with him, and he can focus on his client. And then at the end of the day, that person that called is actually booked in for a quote tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. and it's all taken care of without them having an employee. And we are at that point where AI is that good. Again, I'm not sure if I answered your question.
No, you did. And I just find it funny because you're mentioning here almost like two totally different audiences that you work with and sell to, because you've got some people that may be listening to this thinking, oh my gosh, I would love that many inquiries. I would love that many. I would love the problem of not being able to sift through them. And you're going to have some people who are sat here going, please give me a solution for 90 inquiries. How do I handle all of those people because I'm so busy? So in either one of those situations, those are two problems that you have to solve to scale, because if you have either one of those problems, you can't grow. So really fascinating that you've got the same audience, but in two totally different positions.
It's like the giving up thing, right? It's we had I remember maybe 9 years ago, we played around with foraying into real estate, and real estate agents we found to be a struggle to deal with, because quite frankly, most real estate agents are independent operators. They're busy. They're running around with their heads cut off. And I spoke to one guy, and he said what he's really frustrated with is he's got 100 inquiries. This was back when I didn't really have an answer for it. And he was talking about his other agency, and he was like, I've got 100 inquiries, but only one or two of them are actually real people. I can only ever reach one or two, or one or two of them become something to work with. And I've got to call through all those 100, and it's so frustrating. And all I'm doing is calling, and I hate it. And I want to be in the business of selling houses, not chasing up leads and blah, blah, blah. And back in those days, it was more of, well, let's try to find a VA or try and find someone to go through it for you. But the problem with humans being involved with that stuff, we've found that a lot of times inquiries and so forth come in after hours.
Sure.
A lot of people are on their phones in bed, or after their day's finished or whatever, and they start scrolling through and they see stuff and they start inquiring. We find after about 8 o'clock at night is where a lot of stuff comes through, or holidays or weekends or whatever. A lot of times there isn't somebody available, and you don't want to be a slave to your business being available at all times anyway. And that guy 9 years ago, a lot of times those 100 people were hard to reach because he would reach them the next day or 2 days later.
When they're not available.
And I know myself, if I reached out to you and I didn't know you and I was looking for your service and you took 2 days to respond, I might have moved on. I might have even forgotten. I might never respond to you. But if you responded inside 5 minutes or maybe 30 seconds after I reached out to you, I'm still thinking about you. I'm still thinking about it. I'm much more likely that I'm going to do it. And solving those kind of issues is so critical. And AI does allow you to solve those issues. Those issues done right. No one should have that problem anymore. No one should have lead follow-up issues with current technology, not just with our product, but any product. Like, there's many AI products out there that you can use to follow up.
Definitely. I think especially because when you're targeting parents, which is what you focus on both brands, right, is typically they're so busy through the day. They've got so many things that they're dealing with. They've got their job, they've got their business, then their kid to deal with, spend time with a partner, like you say, get into bed, or finally have a glass of wine if they're lucky. Now they're thinking about stuff like booking activities for their kids or purchasing products for maybe themselves or, again, their family. That time, just as you've said, is out of hours. It's when you also, as a business owner, probably want to be having some time off and not dealing with that. So I guess that's just a vicious cycle if you don't have that solution in place. And
that is the beauty of AI, is that human can't really replace. Even if you've got, say, a Filipino AI or Filipino VA, they still need to eat. They still need to spend time with their family. It might be a different hour in the day, but then they're not covering other hours in the day. And unless you hire 3 people, which, that starts being crazy costs. Even then we found that, because we've had multiple VAs and so forth when we were trying to solve this problem, even then there's oftentimes that those responses don't come, we don't get the response inside that 5 minutes. There's a lot of data that says if you respond to an incoming inquiry within 5 minutes, you get a 400% better chance of it becoming a customer. So, when you've got humans involved, we've got humans involved with our business, and we've got a appointment setter that works with the AI. She gets sick. She's got, family that she wants to spend with. She's got stuff, things fall through the gaps. Yeah. With AI, and I know I don't want this to turn into an AI discussion, but with AI, it kind of takes that out of the equation. And for me, the AI quotient is more about, again, constantly looking for better solutions to be better, constantly looking at what are we trying to accomplish and how can we squeeze more out of the orange, get more juice out of the squeeze than we've had before, and do it in a way that people feel like you're interested.
I think what amazed me, obviously, knowing your sales process inside and out, bringing customers on board and supporting them from the position that you do. The thing that I found absolutely fantastic is going into the system and seeing just quite how human the messages sound as well. Because I think sometimes when you hear the word AI, you think, oh, it's going to be robotic. It's not going to give me the answers. It's going to be this frustrating chatbot that I can never get what I want. I mean, often I've been guilty of saying, speak to a human whenever I see something come through. But I don't think with the stuff you set up, anybody would ever be able to tell that it wasn't a human. So the conversations that you see in your system, in your CRM and your backend are real conversations, asking real detailed questions, responding with the child's name with the booking, for example, and like being so personal. You would just never ever know that it was an automated system, to the point that sometimes I've seen in your sales calls, the companies that are coming on board are saying, oh, you'd been messaging me yesterday. And the sales rep is going, oh, yes, it was me, but it's not. So I think that's just incredible with what you've managed to achieve there.
Yeah, what's weird about it for me is I really try hard to build a human business about helping humans. And when you look at kids' activity centers, it's about helping little kids. And when you look at gymnastics and dance, oftentimes it's you little girls be all they can be. So we try to be very human, and we're a very family-orientated business. And integrating technology and AI and all of that into that in a way that feels organic and feels human is really, really important to us. And my little boy, when he started talking to Jane, my AI, we had to pull him away from it because I was worried that he was starting to get obsessed by it.
Yeah.
Because the cool thing about AI, if you do it right, you can actually train it, and it will give you this amazing sense that it so cares about you and it's so interested in you, which is a whole new conversation that you could do about, making sure you don't let your kids have a lot to do with AI, because it can really suck them in. But if done right, it can make your customers feel very comfortable and feel very good. And we spend a lot of time trying to do that. But at the same time, again, I'm talking a lot about me, talking about you. That's why we wanted to make sure that, they have that experience, us talking about all the things that we talk about that's important to us in our marketing and our advertising. And then they get involved with the AI, and our appointment setter is a special character in herself, where she's very warm, very down to earth, and very real. When you get on with our salespeople, I'll jump the salesperson for now. When you go past the salesperson and get to our team is trained about really digging into what you need, out of your business. How do we make your business serve you? Rather than how do we just get you loads of leads and inquiries?
Yeah, sure.
Where it was really important to me, and why I ended up engaging with you, Emily, was because I wanted that same feeling to be felt in the sales process, where somebody came in, they felt like there was somebody who was interested in them and cared about them, was listening to their needs and their concerns. And so it was this smooth process of high level of consultative experience, right? And we've all heard of consultative sales, we've heard of all sorts of different things, but it needed to be in tune with that. And the AI allows that amplified method, which is everybody can communicate to us through whatever thing that they feel comfortable with. And when you're spending tens of thousands of dollars on marketing, there's a lot of internal communications that come in. One or two appointment setters can't deal with them effectively. The AI does, and it starts that wonderful experience that we hope our clients will have. And the goal is that people will stay with us till their business ends, right? Which could be, hopefully not next week, but, hopefully in decades to come. And we've been part of that. And we end up becoming the heartbeat of that client. Yeah. And that heartbeat is because we've done things the right way.
I mean, it shows in the relationships that you've got. I'm curious, Andy, because you mentioned looking for consultative, and I think you stumbled across what it is that I do on Instagram. And I find it fascinating and actually quite funny on Instagram, just the amount of different sales strategies that are out there. And there's some that claim to be consultative, but when I look at it, maybe it's me being too British, but it just comes across as incredibly patronizing. And then you get all the sweaty bro tactics. And I say sweaty because they always seem to be in a gym tank top, which is just hilarious. But what
lots
was your
of product in their hair?
So much. Yeah. But what was your experience of seeing that stuff? Because I assume you were kind of inundated with that before you came and found me. What was your experience with seeing the other things online?
See, I was a sales trainer as well. I cut my teeth and I really loved it on the Sandler sales system. And I think it was really, really good. We used it in the media companies that we work with, and it worked really, really well, right? And you build up a lot of understanding. You basically, the whole process, that process is about showing them how little they know about anything, how little they know about their business. So you really undermine their confidence in their business. And then you show them how much pain they have, and that, man, you really don't know what you're doing and you have all this pain. So you really should hire us, which is great, because there's a lot of times where I had people say, God, please, you understand me. You really get what what my issues are. I have to work with you. I literally have those kind of conversations. I literally had one guy, and he was like, the pain was, if I don't solve this, I'll lose my wife, I'll lose my house, I won't see my children, and I'll be bankrupt.
Wow.
Please let me sign for you. That works, and it got people in, but it also got them in their mindset was poor. They weren't looking for the long-term relationship. They were desperately looking for a fix within a month or two, which sometimes it takes a little bit longer. Yeah. And you could bring them in, but you were almost creating a major issue for your client services team, right? Because they had this person on, like standing on the edge of the cliff, realizing that their life was ending. I didn't want to sell with fear anymore. But what I would find with these people, prior to finding you, I knew more than they did about their system, because oftentimes they were selling the same thing. And I was sitting there going, give you an example. I won't mention the company's name, but I will say a pretty well-known sales organization that sells sales services and sales. They'll help you find salespeople. If you guess who it is, you probably will guess the right one. And I was like, oh, let's go and see what these guys are like. And the guy that turned up was maybe 21, right? And could be his dad. And I'm sitting there going, okay. And he's trying to talk to me, like asking me these questions about the business and so forth. I was just like, and I know you've been a young salesperson as well. The level of conceit and like talking down to I was like, he was trying to make me think that I didn't know what I was doing or what I was talking about. And I said, look, I'm not here because I'm about to jump off the cliff because my wife wants to leave me and I'm going to lose my house. I'm here because I want to be better. You are not better. I feel that this is going to be worse. I can't work with you. And he was shocked at that. And he was a little bit indignant and maybe that was a little bit harsh, that response that I gave to him. But the journey he was taking me on was trying to show me that I knew nothing. And I was like, well, a lot of times I do know more than a lot of the clients that were coming on board. Yeah. And a lot of them looked at me as an authority because I wasn't 21 years old. But I don't want my clients to feel that way. No. I don't want my clients to feel an element of it and I'm not very special or I'm not very good because all of our clients that are successful are actually amazing people at a very specific thing. They just haven't built out their whole team to actually bring their company to the amazingness that matches what they're actually amazing at. Sure. And that really was, if I'm honest with you, Emily, I don't think I've ever told you this, that was the moment where I was like, I don't like that way of saying, I don't want that to be a part of our organization. I want people to come and experience a sales process with my team and feel warmth and feel caring. And even if they don't do business, to go away feeling positive about us, not accused of being a bad business person. If I'm honest with you, I think Georgina, who's one of our salespeople, has had several Google reviews.
Oh, amazing.
From people who didn't buy, who said, this was an amazing experience. Thank you so much for giving me so much of your time. There is something to be said about that. And I think, there is, the old adage of you attract more flies with honey, not,
sure.
Blah, blah, blah. And it's true, right? And I think we have a ethos and a way of doing things. I'm a big believer in laws of attraction and you put out into the universe and it gives you, your thoughts. And I've always got the feeling that you kind of feel the same way.
Oh, definitely.
And if we put out lots of good will come back. And, you're part of the good.
Oh, thank you, Andy. So sweet. But I mean, I didn't know that about Georgina in the reviews. That just makes me so happy.
Yeah, she's literally had reviews on the sales process.
Wow. I mean, it's testament to her because she's fantastic. Yeah. But I think what's interesting in what you said there is I see it so often where I have clients who come to me, they show me their sales team where they've already done training like you're referring to there, and they just can't understand why they're getting people so resistant at the end when they think they've found all the pain. But I think the thing is it's trying to get somebody to say something that they already know, and saying it out loud doesn't change their pain. They just feel embarrassed or they feel ashamed that they've had to voice it, when if you're a good salesperson, you can read between the lines, you can make the right assumptions, and you ask around it to clarify what it is. And I think by having that silent assumption, or not silent assumption, that silent acknowledgement of, I see you, I've got you, this is the plan.
Right.
You build such a better relationship with somebody than making them feel ultimately crap for having to voice it to somebody that they don't know. And I think what you find with those clients where you've helped them to find the opportunities in their situation and the obstacles in their situation, come up with a plan that is strategic for their current moment in time, then you earn the trust when you're working with them for them to come to you and tell you those things, and for them to say, actually, this is something that I was really struggling with, or this is something I was worried about. Because 60 minutes to close a sale, you may have 2 calls in some circumstances, but that's not enough to build enough trust for people to tell you their deepest, darkest fears and their tear-jerking moments. Like what?
If you've got a 21-year-old guy talking to you and he's trying to dig out that you're worried about losing your house, he's not going to have success.
No.
And if anything, he's going to annoy that person. And, I had success with it a couple of times, but, I wasn't 21 when that was probably in my mid-30s when that happened, because that was during the Great Recession that I had that conversation with a restaurant owner. And he ended up buying a whole bunch of advertising from my company, or the company I was working for, the TV company. And we actually helped them. We actually helped them get through, and it was all a success story. But to bring him to his knees almost, where he was almost in tears and worried about his family, was the purpose of the sales process. To make him realize the value in the solution was way greater than the amount that I was going to charge, right? So I could be charging $30,000 a month, but he's thinking, geez, what is the cost of losing my family, losing my house, losing my business? Is it worth more than $30,000 a month? Yes, it is. I'll pay. To me, that felt very manipulative. It felt quite rough. And when I was sitting there talking, knowing that there was something better out there, and I wasn't happy with our current sales process, because we never really pushed it that hard in the kids' activity center realm. We would just point out, we'd ask questions like, do you know how many people visit your website? None of them did, because they're gymnastics coaches or whatever. Do you know what's your cost of acquisition? They didn't know. We ask all those questions that sound like numbers that they should know, and they feel that they should know, but we kind of knew that they didn't know. So we asked those things on purpose so they would go, oh, I don't know anything. Not only that, I don't know anything, but I also, if I don't solve this problem, I'm going to lose something, or I'm in trouble. I felt that was not the right tactic. And especially to push that, like you said, in that first 45-minute meeting where they don't know you from Adam.
It's I feel like we're putting the world to rights. But absolutely. So Andy, when we first started having conversations, I know that we had sort of a 6-week process really where we first started to have a look at what was going on in the business, the sales process. Do you mind sharing a little bit about what your experience was over the first 6 weeks and how that looked for you?
I'll give a bit of background to it. So obviously we spoke a little bit about what I was looking to change in our sales process, just because of, I think, a cultural thing. I didn't feel that our sales process was culturally in line with what we were trying to give to our clients. But also, since COVID, our growth had very much plateaued out. So I would say pre-COVID, which, we've been in business since 2015, which seems like a long time in this industry. So 2015 till 2020, we grew probably at 25%, 30%, 40, or at the beginning, 100%, as you do when you're new. But we were growing at large percentages every year. COVID hit, and we actually grew quite nicely during the year of COVID, because we actually, I'll say, I was very smart.
Yeah. You're
and
allowed to
clever.
say that, Andy.
I think I'd made some really good decisions. We decided to invest heavily in helping our part of our client base that was totally getting smashed, which was the Kids Activity Center. And they were in terrible disorder, getting smashed by the government and everything, because, you're not allowed to have a gym open with hundreds of kids in it breathing on each other. So some of them, especially in California and other states, were closed down for months, sometimes up to nearly a year, and others were closed down for at least a couple of months, right? So they were all hurting and in a bad place. So we decided to have all of our team that worked on the Kids Activity Center stuff focus on doing things for nothing. We actually built a course, our original course that we sell now.
Oh.
We built that course at that point, and we said, anybody can have this course for whatever you feel that you can pay for it. So if you can't pay anything, you have it for free. If you can pay something, it'll help us give it out to more people. And we actually had a couple of people pay $700-800 for it, and we had a load of people pay nothing, right? And then we had some 10s, 20, 30, 40, 50s. We actually sell it now at $500 a month. But we did that, right? We did some other things where we helped them build out how to do trainings and everything, internal over video and Zoom and so forth. And we basically, the goal was to show that industry that we cared and we were still there, even though you weren't able to pay us any money. And it actually supercharged that part of the business when they started coming out, because they were like, you were the only one that stuck around, right? We actually literally had that comment from many, many, many clients. Even to this day, when I go to kids activity events, especially gymnastics, because that's where we were really focused at that time, I'll have gym owners come up to this day and say, thank you for the efforts that you did during COVID. But at the same time, we had another part of our staff, and we really pivoted hard onto e-commerce, and we did really, really well in e-commerce during that period because everyone was at home buying stuff online. Whilst half of our business wasn't making any money, it was growing a really great reputation with the community because we were there helping, actively trying to assist when everybody just ditched them. And then on the other half, we were making hay with the industry that was doing really well because of COVID. So we had a really good 2020, which pushed us up to our highest year ever during that period. Now, obviously, we might have done better if our kids' activity centers had been open too, but that is what it is. So from 2021, 2022, 2023, and I think this was a leftover of COVID, it kind of stayed at that level. And then what happened is the e-commerce kind of like backed off and it was less of a booming thing. And what we found is we found a bit of a crossover. The kids' activity centers were coming back online and the e-commerce was going down. And that caused this plateauing out that we had for probably 4 or 5 years. I mean, we grew a little bit, but it was like, 2 or 3, 5% a year. And then last year, I really wanted to double down into the culture of what we do and how we do it, and that we wanted to be putting good into the world, so to speak. And I decided at this point, I felt quite comfortable personally. Like I didn't feel under the gun financially. I didn't feel like we had a business that was struggling. I felt like we're in a really good place in a lot of different ways. And I was like, this is the time. We're going to go all in on helping, on doing good things and helping these businesses and really doing it right. And I was also like, I feel like if I go down the route of doing the right thing and doing what it feels is the right thing, where when I talk about this, I can sometimes get the hair on the back of my head stand on end, and I feel really charged up and really good about it. When I did that, and that was part of that was deciding we're going to change our sales process and looking into how we go about it. I started seeing, I don't know, I mean, obviously it's the phone listening to our conversation.
Listens to everything.
Yeah, but it obviously saw me looking into different sales processes, and we looked through a lot. Some of them very famous. Some of them I think are great. We just found you instead. We went through a lot of them, and then I started seeing your videos popping up and your chats and your conversations, and I was like, this feels right. This feels like it's an alignment, and I kept seeing it, and I kept feeling right, and I liked your delivery, and you're kind of like, I don't know, it was a fun thing. The English accent, I'd lived in England for 5 years. There was a little bit of,
home.
And then I reached out, and obviously I spoke to your team, and then I said, I only want to talk to Emily. I don't actually want to be spoken to anybody else, because I wanted to see what you how your sales pitch was from you. And it was great. And it was exactly what I expected. And it did feel like you were just trying to help and you were consulting and trying to figure out what was the best way for us to go forward. And I was like, okay, this felt good. I knew I was being sold to, but I was expecting to be sold to. Everybody else that I'd spoken to, I felt like I was being sold to, and I felt like they were trying to get me to do something. Now, I was trying to do something, don't get me wrong, but I didn't like the feeling that they were trying to manipulate me into doing something. With you, it felt quite natural, and it felt like I should be doing something with Emily. I found the right place. I found the right person. This feels natural. So we did, we do business together, and we've gone from, basically 1.5 million a year in revenue to 2. So if you think about that, $500,000 of revenue growth in 1 year, and the only change was just the attitude and the process and what we're doing with our sales. And it is a sales team change. We did add another salesperson that is very, very good. She found it a little bit difficult at the beginning to change from that old school kind of sales thing. But I think now she's really bought into it. And I think it's probably in more tune with her personality as well, right? Because she's a helper. She only sells stuff that she knows works. She's got to feel good about it. And I've got to say, I think the mixture of us deciding that we want to really align ourselves with doing things the right way and be a force of good, rather than just how do we make more money, how do we help as many people as possible is literally what we talk about in our sales meetings. How do we help as many people as possible? And us helping them is helping them understand that we do have some answers. And if we don't have the answers, we're not the right people for you. And really going through that and finding you with your process and the way that you go out of your way to make them not feel like they're being sold to. So their defenses come down and they have a real conversation. It's been worth $500,000 this year, right?
Amazing.
And I mean, when I say that, it's like, okay, 1.5 million, there might be other people that might be watching this and they say, well, we have a $20 million business. I kind of feel that if you're selling to humans and you want people to feel good about the process to the point that they go, I feel so good about this, I want to do business with these people. Okay, you might be doing 20 million. If you have the same kind of success, then maybe you're going to put $5 million on the books. Go and do it.
I love that. And thank you. It's so nice to hear. And I think one of the fascinating things, because I don't know if you know this, Andy, but before we take any initial call or consultation with a business, we go and do a load of due diligence beforehand, and we've cancelled out a lot of calls in our process because just like you mentioned the law of attraction and the energy stuff, we're so big on it because we don't want a partner that I call my clients partners rather than clients, because that's what it feels like. But we don't want to bring a partner into the fold that causes negative energy or doesn't have good reviews or doesn't genuinely do good for their clients, because why would we want to let them into this kind of secret that is the CDP method if they're going to use it to manipulate people into doing something that isn't good for them. So it's something that I was very excited to have our conversation because I could see everything that was amazing that you were doing online. So it felt like a good fit from our side too. But I'm interested on a bit of advice from your side for any other business owner that's listening to this with a sales team, because often I see sales or business owners or founders that come to the conversation to talk about their teams, and they are in this kind of fight or flight, in this weird relationship of this frustration for their sales team where they really want them to work. But you seem to master this beautiful kind of coaching energy of, I'm here to support you, here are the tools, here's how we're going to get better, and you lead the charge. I do understand why some business owners get really frustrated and they get quite cross, I think is fair, at their sales team. But what would be your advice if somebody's in that situation of, I'm frustrated, but I want to get it better? What would you suggest?
From the point of view of a business that has a sales team that they want to improve.
Yes. And I think to fine tune my question more, there's some founders with sales teams and they are finding that their personal energy is quite frustrated rather than feeling like, okay, I want to help them. And I think ultimately it's coming from that. Because
I think a lot of businesses, I mean, we've worked with businesses that do a lot more revenue than we do, and we've helped them. I think there's a lot of businesses that, let's talk about myself, because that's the one I know the best. Our success seems to be getting stronger and stronger the less I'm concerned about my own personal income. My own personal income is a byproduct of doing really, really good for others. And it sounds a bit wishy-washy and it sounds a bit, and the guys with the slick back hair and the muscle shirts are probably going, oh, no, you got to go close the deal. But people can sense when you have their best interests at heart, and they're much more likely to do business with you if they know that you absolutely do care about their well-being. That washes down throughout the company. So if you're a business owner and you're feeling a bit uptight about, I'm not hitting the goals, I'm worried about my own, I just bought this Ferrari, how am I going to make those payments and blah, 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 because I like sitting in front of it as I take photos of myself and put them on Instagram. Or maybe I've just rented this Ferrari and I've got a $5,000 a month payment to make and it's stressing me out. That's going to continue happening. That's going to cascade throughout your business and you're going to have difficulty. I think my team feel pretty comfortable in themselves as long as they're working and doing a good job for the people that we're serving, which is our client base. I've said to my team, I don't care what decisions you do as long as I can look at it and go, I can see how they were trying to do right by our clients. Yeah. And if it's a bad thing that costs the company money, like a financially bad thing, but it was something that they were trying to honestly do that was good for the client, we'll have a conversation. We'll say, okay, maybe next time we won't do it that way. Maybe we'll do it a different way. And that frees up my team to actually make decisions, feel confident, and not be worried about stuff. And their focus is making sure that clients are taken care of. And I think from a sales team standpoint, if the sales team really buys into that, where they are there to serve the people that they're talking to, not close numbers, and that they don't feel that pressure. And this requires you to hire right too.
It does.
So you hire the right people and then you fill them with the confidence that they're serving and making a difference to people's lives. I mean, that's a real powerful mix when they've got a little bit of a process with which to hone that desire around, which you bring to the table, right? So a good example is my chief salesperson. She's incredibly driven to help people. She's incredibly honest. She can't represent anything she doesn't believe in. So if I surround her with confidence that we do all we can to help the client, price doesn't matter, right? Because it's not a price thing. And most people, in my experience, most of our clients, they're not price conscious. They are they going to deliver conscious? And if the client really does believe that you're going to deliver, the price almost is irrelevant. So when you've got a mixture of a process that engenders that feeling, salespeople that engender that feeling, and then maybe leadership that their goal is grander than their bank account, the actual bank account, the side effect is your bank account becomes quite comfortable. I'm very comfortable with where I'm at. I don't know if it's because I've got to a certain age. I've still got a good number of years ahead, but I've definitely got to a certain age where I've got a lot of things that I'm quite comfortable with. Now it's about making sure that everybody that hopefully is in touch with us and in touch with me feels the same way. And, to a degree, I think when you get to a point where you've got more days behind you than ahead of you, you get to a point where you start thinking about legacy and what you want to leave. And it's quite freeing. I mean, there might be a macabre aspect to it where you're like, oh man, thinking about you're going to be dying sooner than when you were born. But there's a part of it that's like, well, now it's just about just doing the thing that we need to do to make the world as good a place as possible. And anybody that knows me knows that I'm not a kumbaya or I'm not a like out there, blah, blah, blah. But I am a person that's like, let's do the right thing because it feels good. And there is greater powers, whether you're religious or not. Yep. There is something because, I mean, I have crazy stories about when I've really put myself into the right space and the right flow, like literally checks of tens of $20,000 turn up in my stuff from the IRS even.
Gosh.
Which I wasn't expecting.
Rare to come by.
Because I felt that I put myself in the right place and was doing the right thing to do it, to receive that stuff. And I know that feels kumbaya, but there is something very real about it. And I don't know, getting back to your answer about the sales team, helping put your sales team in a place where they are 100% in belief and they're not in fear. If you've got a sales team and you're running it by fear, you're the problem, not the sales team. If you've got a sales team and they love you and they love the company that they work with and they love the customers that they're serving, it's a recipe of tremendous success if they've got a framework with which to work with that amplifies that. Because you still got to do business. You still got to get things over the line. If they're just trying to love on people, that oftentimes can just turn into nothing. But if you can actually do it through a plan, it actually turns into money. And it's amazing.
I think it's such an interesting, a few things that you've touched on in that is the energy side of things, as well as the confidence to not be desperate for the close. Because what we see a lot in sales calls, I mean, I analyze so many sales calls every single week, as you know, where we get new teams that come to us and we're saying, well, why is this close not, or this call not closing, for example? Often it's because the sales rep is so desperate and so frightened for that close. They're doing anything they possibly can. And it brings me back to what you said, having that customer there on his knees saying, please help me, I've got nowhere else to go. What I really focus on in the whole process, and I know your sales team now does too, is what I want to trigger is that sense of relief in somebody, not a sense of, what do I do? I'm helpless. Yeah. And the structure, the flow that we use brings them to that point of, oh my goodness, I have no questions left. Every worry that I have has been answered. I didn't realize I had these opportunities and I'm no longer fearful of my problems. I have nothing to go away and check or talk over or speak to anybody else about. And where actually a lot of sales reps go wrong when they're learning this process is suddenly they go, why have they gone silent? And it's because that person at that moment is going, okay, can I put this on my Amex? Or am I actually going to give this person however many $1,000 because it feels right? And where it goes wrong is that person breaks that energy and they go, so what are you thinking? And they're like, oh, wait, and they haven't had that thought process time.
Right.
It's that sudden realization for the sales rep of works. And they have to sit in that silence and let them go, okay, well, how do we sign up? Like, where do we go? Because I want to do it.
Right.
It's such a strange dynamic.
It's so funny because so many systems have a close, right? This is how you close the deal.
Yep.
With your system, they close themselves.
Yep.
And the self-close is like the most powerful one. That's the one where they're thinking, like when they're quiet, they're going, and I've been in those situations where I've realized that I need to do this, even if it wasn't the same system. And my headspace is, I'm going to take the money from this account, put it into this account, or do I use this credit card? Or if I wire the funds over, that's where my head's at because I've already decided I'm going to be the customer. And if the salesperson just shuts up and lets me get to the point where I say, well, what's next? They've got it. And then it's like, well, hey, we can send over the agreement and we've got this. And then it's just a process that you're holding their hand through because you've hold their hand through the rest of it and you're just going to hold their hand through the last bit of it. And, you know, you're right. I think sales people find it. I definitely find it a problem to be quiet when they're there. But most times with your process, it is a point of, because you're asking so many questions and not asking so many questions, but because you're letting them do all the talking, they talk themselves out. They've got nothing more to say. And I kind of, you know, and you know, oftentimes you haven't necessarily shared a lot about yourself. Like I know when I first spoke to you, I didn't necessarily get a lot out of you about how it all works, but I knew because I was analyzing your sales thing because I was like, okay, she's a sales coach. Surely she's going to be. How does it work? Surely she's going to be doing her sales process to me. At the end of it, I felt really good about it, and I was like, "That's the feeling I want my salespeople to have. I want my salespeople to have a really good feeling, and I want my prospects and my future clients to have this really good feeling because that, especially in our business, when we want our clients to be with us for years, that starts them off in a low pressure, low anxiety, low emotional state of positivity that let's make some things happen. And then their experience after the fact is along those lines rather than, because our own process after the sales fact wasn't in alignment with the panic button sales process. Because it was about, hey, how you doing? And we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And they're like, we need to get this done because I'm going to lose my house. No, you know, and that just wasn't in alignment. So, and I think that's probably why we broke out of that stagnation. And we were doing okay and I was paying the bills and we were doing all right, but we weren't helping more people. and we weren't making more money, which means my staff can't get paid more, and we can't, I've got a lot of families that pay their bills on our business from our staff standpoint, and they want to earn more money. In the last 4 years, inflation has gone up 20%. So I kind of need them to earn 20% more. I can't sit there and just be okay with earning the same amount of money, because the reality is it's less money. So growing by 25% kind of filled in the hole for the last 4 years, to be honest. So, now we're ahead of where we were, in 2020, right? But in real terms, if we hadn't grown that way, we were probably $200,000 in real money, spending power behind where we were. So we're now ahead, and a lot of that has to do with doing things the right way.
That makes me really happy to hear, and thank you for sharing. But I mean, Andy, with that said, what's the future look like? You've managed to make that jump now. Where's the business going from here?
We're actually getting to the point where we're starting to look at businesses to acquire. There's a lot of businesses, small businesses out there that either need partners or acquisition. And, we think there's definitely better ways to do things. And there's a lot of venture capitalists and stuff out there that will snatch up the businesses that are cranking and doing super, super well. But there's a lot of really good businesses that are out there. And, some of the viewers and listeners and so forth might have seen some of this stuff through the Cody Sanchez's and so forth, where there's, at least in the United States, there's 1,000 businesses a day getting listed for sale, most of which won't be sold. And we're going to stick in our niche, probably family-based businesses, because I do feel that those family-based businesses are a lot more AI resistant, because AI is going to shake stuff up.
It is.
And we can inject some AI into those businesses to help the parts that they're struggling with. And I think there's a lot of harmonious kind of like symmetry going on with those businesses. So that's where we're headed. There's a couple of businesses that we're looking to acquire.
Very cool.
And then on another note, I let you know yesterday that we're trying to start a little business for my son and he's only 8, but I want him to learn the business of business. Right. And, I don't want him to fail or have struggles, but I want him to see that when things don't quite go exactly to plan, that, hey, you just keep working through it and you find out better ways. So that's kind of where it's at right now. I mean, we've bought property in the last year. We bought property probably on the fact that I felt quite confident because things were going in the right direction. We bought property, 10 acres of land in rural Indiana, and this beautiful rolling farmland. So there's going to be a project there I've spoken to you about. Remember your idea with the wedding facility?
I do.
So we've got all of that together, and we're going to be working on that. So there's lots of cool things. I mean, I'm lucky with my business that we have a really great team. That's why I want it to grow, so they can be looked after, because they pretty much run the day-to-days. It allows me to look at these opportunities, do these other things to enrich Creatively Disruptive and take care of my family. And that's where my headspace is really at right now.
It's exciting. And I am so excited to see photos of this wedding location that you talk about. Sounds cool.
I'll call it the Ratcliffe Event Center.
Love it. Love it. Feel like I need my face on the board like this. Right. So I suppose just to round things off. So thank you so much for spending the time with me today. But any other words of wisdom, words of advice for anybody struggling with their sales or marketing?
I do think that they need to call you. It sounds kind of funny. It sounds absolutely like a commercial, but I do suggest that there is a better way to do your sales, and it's a more human way. And I think people are looking for that. In a world of technology and phones and everything, I see most business owners, including the young Gen Zs and so forth that are starting out their businesses, and the millennials and so forth that think they know it all of, even through those generations, through up to the Gen Xs, which is what I'm part of, and to the ones higher than that, the boomers and so forth. There is an element that we want to build a team around ourselves, and getting back to that understanding that you don't need to know it all. You just need to build a team around you that knows it all is the secret to success. And, I felt that sales and messaging and all of that was a strength of mine. But even I decided, you know what, I'm going to bring in an Emily Ratcliffe because I wanted to free my time up, and I didn't want to be spending a lot of time on it. But I also wanted a different take from a different place that would be in alignment with the company that I have. And I think a lot of sales teams, and I think a lot of ways that a lot of businesses set themselves up, they have a very dynamically opposed situation happening in their sales team and in their service team, or their sales team and their delivery team. The delivery part of the business could have a very different culture to their sales culture. And I think you might not be the right fit for everybody.
Exactly.
But for a company that wants to build something with people feeling good about themselves and good about the product or the service that they're buying, I think you're a must-have, and they really should be thinking about doing business with you. Just generally, getting back to that, like I always use Usain Bolt. Usain Bolt won multiple Olympic medals running, 100 yards by himself, right? 100 meters by himself. But he had many, many people on his team. He had psychiatrists, he had trainers, he had, therapists, he had all sorts of people around him to help him run those 100 yards. He wasn't running those 100 yards by himself. And business is a team sport. And if you think that you know it all, you don't. As simple as that. If you think you know it all, you literally don't know it all. Like that answer is an answer in itself. So building that team around you, getting that expert sales trainer, and you might be thinking, why do I need a sales trainer? Well, unless you're very, very lucky that you hire someone like an Emily who works for your company, which is unusual, I would say, go out and find a tried true sales training organization like Emily's and, add that to your team. Do you want the best sales trainer? Yes. Do you want the best lawyer? Probably. Do you want the best accountant? Probably, right? Do you want, if you're at a point where you're getting operators operating your company up, we're very lucky to have a very good general manager who's our operator. Do I want the best one for us? Yeah. And I feel that we have it. So we're building out a team of experts that are making sure that the day-to-day operations is constantly looking at being all it can be, right? And that better never stops attitude is constantly happening. So, and it frees me up a little bit so I can go swimming with my son and do fun things.
Oh, I love that. And that's how you deliver exactly what you deliver for your clients, Andy. So it's a pleasure to work with you and the team. I love the relationship. So thank you for being a part of our world.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So what type of gym did you have?
Gymnastics gym.
Okay. Whereabouts was it?
In Lake Tahoe.
What sort of size were you? How many kids did you have?
It was small. It was a little one. It was max. At our top, we had nearly 300 kids.
Okay, awesome. And what was it that you were struggling to do at that point? So you had your 300 kids. Where did you want to go with it?
If I'm honest, back then, we probably were in the same silly position that we find a lot of our clients. We didn't really have any clue of what we just wanted to do. I mean, it was kind of more of my wife's dream. And it was trying to keep it to be a dream and not a nightmare. We bought it in 2004. And in 2009, it turned into a nightmare. So from 2004 to 2009, it was kind of like fun and interesting. And my wife worked her butt off. She was there all the time in the evenings because that's all in the evenings. And 2009, when the financial collapse happened, we went from 300 kids to 150 overnight.
Wow.
Because a whole bunch of businesses closed down around us, and we had to figure out how to make it work. And that was where it was like, how do we make this happen? And we tried all sorts of different things, and no one really understood, and it was difficult. And we slowly fought our way out of it and then sold it. And the experience for Tiffany is I never want to own a gym again.
That's crazy. So what made you at that point when you went from 300, dropped down to 150, which I could imagine to be so incredibly stressful. What pushed you to think, okay, I'm going to try an agency? Like what was your journey in trying to find an agency that could potentially help you?
It was the staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. And not knowing how to make payroll. Because I had that multiple months where I was like, how am I going to make payroll? I've got a $7,000 payroll, which isn't large, but it's $7,000. When you only have $4,000 in the bank, you're like, who am I not going to pay?
Gosh.
And you don't want to be that employer that doesn't pay people on their payday. And we always figured it out, but it would be, sometimes it was, I'll get a cash advance on a credit card, right? Or I'll do this, or I'll do that, and trying to make it happen. Or if we could get back up to 200, some of the financial pressures would go away. And how do we get to 200? Oh, let's try this, radio station. And we did a radio station ad, and it was really, really cheap. And we did it because it was so cheap. So it was like $250 a month for for like 40, 50 spots or whatever, which is super, super cheap. But then obviously after that first year of that contract, they came back and said, oh, all right, now you've seen how great we are. now it's $1,000. And we're like, well, we're not doing it because we can't afford $1,000. At no point did anybody kind of look into what we needed ourselves and how to go about getting there. And it was scary and tough. And probably for myself, because I had another job, but watching my wife really struggling in something she loved was really difficult. Like seeing her, because she loved gymnastics. She loves the sport. She loves the kids. She loves everything about it. To this day, she'll be coaching on Friday in the park right around the corner from our house. Lots of little kids. We roll out all the stuff and she's got all the equipment. She spends the whole morning coaching little kids gymnastics. She loves it. And that was her dream. And seeing that become so stressful to her because she doesn't like to let people down. Sure. She doesn't want to, me having to try to figure it out. Even though I was in television and so forth, I didn't know all the things to do. It was right at that period, 2009, when Facebook, Instagram, everything was starting to happen. And where to go, where to look, we only have $500, $600 a month to spend. And I need to turn into something. I can't waste it. And that's why when I see Kids Activity Center owners come to us today, I know that every single one of their pennies has to be spent well. They can't waste it. They might only have $500. We have a lot of clients that have a budget of $500 to $900 a month. I mean, we cost more than their budget that they have, but we've got to make that budget jump. We've got to make that budget work, and we've got to be there for them, and it's got to have a purpose towards something that makes a difference to them. And that was why we started the business, because Russell, my business partner, in other industries had similar experiences with himself and other clients having that same absolute deathly concern of, oh my gosh, my lease payment's coming up, or my payroll's coming up, or my mortgage. I had to take all my money out of my bank account to make sure I made my payroll. How do I make my mortgage payment now?
Yeah.
And which one am I going to let down? I'm going to let down my bank that owns my home. Am I going to let down my staff that blah, blah, and all of these things? Sometimes we can't solve them, but we at least are there to work through it with them. And if I'm honest with you, there's usually a solution. There's been some really, really tough things that I've heard that clients have dealt with that we've actually been able to help work them through. There's oftentimes the really tough things aren't easy to fix and they can't fix them overnight, but they're things that we can work through to get them to a different place. And that all stems from those times when things were really tough with our business. And I would say that if it wasn't for the Great Recession and the difficulty that our gym experienced during 2009, 2010, 2011, probably 2012, if I'm honest, if we didn't go through that real difficulty, we might not have Creatively Disruptive the way it was to this day. We might have something else going on, but it felt like a calling. I know it felt like a calling to Russell. To me, I was like, I don't want my clients to feel the way that I did. Especially that 3 a.m. in the morning, staring at the ceiling, wondering how I'm going to make payroll, or wondering how I'm going to do whatever it is, or wondering how I'm going to deal with these angry clients. And when I say that, like we had a period where we had loads of angry parents because we couldn't afford to continue a boys program. So I was cutting the boys program out because we had like 12 kids in the boys program and half of our gym was full of boys equipment.
Right.
And we had 150 girls and 12 boys, but the boys were probably 25% of the cost of the business because we actually had a coach too, had to coach them, and having to go through that process of letting that go away and all those angry and waking up at 3 a.m. in the morning and staring and going, we truly understand how those kids' activity centers work and the difficulties and the challenges, even if it doesn't directly relate to marketing or sales or whatever. Like in a very special way, I think Creatively Disruptive as a management team understands their businesses or understands your business. If you're a gym owner, we understand it because we've gone through it. We started cheerleading programs, which turned into nightmares with lots of jealousy and the drama that cheerleading can have. And we've had to shut down cheerleading programs. We've had injuries. We've had issues with insurance companies, all these things that gyms can oftentimes experience. We've had the pleasant experience, or I have, of having to unplug loads of toilet rolls down toilets that 4-year-old boys shove down there.
You've lived it.
So we, in a very intimate, special, there's probably no other agency of our kind of standing, at least, that understands the Kids Activity Center business like we do. We've literally run them, owned them, seen it, done it, and we were formed on the fact that we wanted to answer the problem of who do I call after I get up at 8 o'clock after waking up at 3 a.m. and not being able to go to sleep. I want to be, and I want the company to be that answer. We are the people that you call out to and reach out to because you had a sleepless night, and we're going to work out a plan to end that sleepless night. That's where it all comes from.
I love that. And I suppose for anybody listening to this and resonating with it, one of the two big things that are going to stick out to them there is the fact that you were in a financial hold almost of, I've got this amount left, or maybe didn't even have that perception of I have this amount to invest, because I think at that point and under that pressure, investing is a really scary thing to be able to let go and almost feel sometimes like you're gambling with that money, right? Is it going to pay off? Is it not? And also being so incredibly busy, working, trying to fix things yourself. If somebody is in that position where they're feeling, I suppose, time poor and also financially guarded, what would you be recommending based on what you've gone through? What's your experience and what advice would you give them?
I think the majority of gym owners are originally, like I said, I've said this before, technicians that they love the sport, they love what they do. Gymnastics specifically, possibly more so than swimming and dance and some other kids' activity centers, it's a perfection business. It's about being perfect, right? The perfect 10. I know, in the Olympics and internationally in elite level, they don't use the 10 marker anymore, but, in the lower levels they do. So it's about being perfect at whatever routine you're doing through. And I think that comes through with a lot of gym owners, even dance, they want to be perfect. They want the recital to be perfect. So it's all about that search for perfection and things to be just right. And they bring that in to the rest of their business, and business is not perfect. In fact, I totally believe, and I've always believed in this, and I think that's the difference between my wife and me. My wife wants things to be perfect, and he wants to know that it's going to be perfect sometimes before she'll even try it.
Okay.
I am happy for everything to be at 80% as long as we try. And I think most gym owners, if they can relax, go, okay, it doesn't need to be perfect. It can be at 80%, and then I can work at getting it to 82 and 84 and 83. But let's do some things at 80% and get it rolling, get it working, and get things moving rather than, because there's a lot of things that I see in the Kids Activity Center business where certain things that should be happening is not happening. And a lot of it is because I haven't found the perfect bookkeeper, so I don't have QuickBooks. I don't have the perfect person to do my payroll, so I do it myself.
Right.
I don't have this because, so I'm going to blah, 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 blah. And there's certain things that you should do and it'll make your life so much better. I don't have adults working for my companies, so I hire teenagers because they're easier to find. But I think most people would say that teenagers are also harder to keep and are unreliable, right? I don't want to pay people a living wage because I can pay teenagers less. I'm let down all the time and I have to go in and cover for my teenage staff that don't want to work, and I've got to be the one that comes in. So I've got to feel like I'm always on call and I'm constantly stressed. There's all of those kind of things that end up happening because oftentimes as gym owners, there's the sense of I should know how to do everything myself and it should be perfect. And if I can't do it perfect, I'm not going to do it. Where the real answer is, maybe I'll just let go a little bit. And even if it's done 80% as well as what I feel that it should be, it's still progress and it's still good. And let's get somebody else who's an expert to do it for me. Right. So when we spoke about that with your thing, let's have, build the team around you. Let's be Usain Bolt. You want to run your 100 yards, but let's get that therapist. Let's get that trainer. Let's get that psychologist. Let's get all these specialists in your business so you can be all you can be. And most of our clients, when they really get involved with what we do and they kind of let their guard down, they let it happen, right? They embrace it and they go, okay, let's, Andy, do your thing. Your team.
Accept the help.
Let's just let go of all of this tension of perfection and let's get onto the job of executing at 80%. All of a sudden things start happening and their lives improve and they're a lot happier. And that is a real driving factor for me and Russell because, both of us have always been okay at 80% as long as we try stuff.
Yeah.
And, I think that's been very good for my wife. Otherwise, we wouldn't be where we're at today.
Sure.
But yeah, I think I've gone around in circles with that answer, but I think that's where we're at.
Definitely. So, Andy, you took your gym from 150 kids, 150 members, all the way up to 300 members. How did you do that?
There was an element of making the client the focus and not ourselves, and doing what we felt was good for the parents as well as the kids, and then executing. And we brought in experts. We had a business consultant that worked with us for the first year and a half when we bought it. And we did go from 150 to 300 kids when we first bought it, and doubled it probably in a year. It was really fast.
Wow.
And I think a lot of, and back then we didn't have, there wasn't Facebook, there wasn't Google. There wasn't Google. It was Netscape back then.
Oh gosh.
But we did TV ads. We did do some radio ads. But I think what happens, because the only way you go from 150 to 300 is by keeping people. Like you can't have high turnover.
Sure.
And we did make a big push to making sure we had a really good team of coaches, a really good team of experts. I had a financial consultant, I had a business consultant, and I had a really good accountant. And that helped us make some really solid decisions with how we operated. And then by getting the word out to the community in ways that the gym had never done before, through back in those days, because we didn't have the option of digital. Back in those days, it was, radio and television. And our little gym had never been on radio and television. So people were like, what's this little gym? And people would come in and check it out and look us up. And what I'd say, fast forward till, because it's 22 years ago.
Wow, yeah.
Fast forward to today with technology changes, what I think I wish I had back then was a Facebook and Instagram, was a Meta, was a TikTok, was a YouTube, all of those things. Because nowadays we have the ability to reach directly into a home, target mums. Because on radio and television when we did it, there was 21-year-old guys who just driving around, or what people, grandmas, whatever, people who didn't even have kids were hearing our ads. Now the money that you're spending is being directed directly at mums in your area that have kids of a certain age. With Google, it's directed directly at somebody who's actively seeking to do something today, because that's why they've put in that search. And we can see this is how much money you spent, and this is the result that you've got from it, and this is the value that you've got out of it. Should I do that again? Yeah, I should. These numbers look good, and I've got an X number of clients. Rinse and repeat with a real sense of confidence and security, which we didn't have in 2020. Sorry, I keep saying 2020. 2004.
Wow. Well, I mean, it's like you say, if we'd have only had those tools back then, but there's a lot of gyms that hit that plateau, right, where they feel like they've got a good community around them, they've got referrals coming through, but often looking at competitors in a similar space or a similar area thinking, well, how on earth are they taking students from us when maybe we are a nicer feel, we care more about our students, we get better results in terms of their confidence, their progression. But how can people break through that plateau? Because you figured this out on your own, and now you're doing the same thing for other gyms now all over the States, right? So how are you helping gyms break through that plateau and hit that growth?
It's a whole process, right? So if you've got a gym and you're doing reasonably well, you're making maybe $100,000 a year yourself, and you've got your staff and things are popping along nicely, but you're like, I probably have an extra 100, 200 spots available, which I just can never seem to fill. Almost always, in my experience, it's because you're not communicating effectively to your community. And most gyms, and what's great about the statement, even to this day, most kids' activity centers, I'm not going to say gymnastics gyms. Sure. I say gymnastics because we owned one, but most kids' activity centers are terrible at marketing themselves. Anybody hearing this who owns a kids' activity center has probably heard this before. A parent comes through and says, "Oh, I didn't know you existed," and then they find out that mom has been there for 20 years and didn't know you existed. It's because, as an industry, kids' activity centers are very poor at marketing themselves, and by utilizing the tools that we have today, the push from that 500 that you got through word of mouth probably over 20-year span or 10-year span or whatever, to get that extra 200, which is all profit, which could take you from $100,000 of personal income to $300,000 of personal income if you go 100 times 200 times 12, right? And the cost of that is just the coach of a cost of the cost of a coach, because you're already paying your rent, you're already paying the rest of it. So that's almost all profit.
Yeah.
Getting that little bit of extra exposure to your community through things like Meta and Facebook and Google, which are so targeted, is something that on this planet we've never had before. And if you've got somebody who knows how to utilize Facebook and Meta and all of the different systems that are out there, they're going to do a good job. I suggest that you find somebody that knows your business as well, like us, that also knows Meta and Google and all the different things out there. And that mix with your ability to do good things, because you're already doing those good things, mixed with the fact that all those mums suddenly know that you exist. Yeah. You're going to fill up and you'll break through pretty quick.
Well, you give them the ability from a, like you say, a kids activity center. You allow the business owner to do what they are good at whilst you pick up the stuff that nobody really wants to do because it's your speciality. And I've seen what happens a lot through your business is you end up hitting capacity or filling those places and actually then having the conversation of, well, do we open another facility? Do we open another location?
We know there's a step between that, which is almost always, you get to a point where we've had some clients hit capacity. Yeah. And the smart clients do one thing, the bad clients do this thing. So the bad clients, the not so smart clients will say, okay, we hit our numbers, we don't need to do any more marketing anymore. And what that ends up doing, it's like pushing the accelerator down on your car, getting to a certain speed and then taking your foot off the accelerator and then the car slowly slows down. The clients that are really smart, what they do, and we'll push you to do this, is we say, okay, now that you're full, now it's about raising prices. So you're at $80 a month that you're charging your kids. Now it's about getting you to $160 with the same amount of kids, because that's where the money is. The money is in you getting to $160 a month for a class that you used to charge $80 for. Because all of a sudden those 500 kids that are making you, $600,000 a year, and now those 500 kids are making you $1.2 million a year.
I see. Do you end up with wait lists then? Is that the kind of process? So
that's what we want to generate. Yeah. So even if you don't have wait lists, let's say you're full but you don't have wait lists. What you want is wait lists, because wait lists allow you to get in that supply and demand curve
and gauge the growth.
And then you start raising prices. What we know is gymnastics gyms are chronically undercharging compared to competition, family businesses, gymnastics. I'm talking about gymnastics. Typically dance and cheer and swim typically are much better at charging their value. But even a lot of swim, I believe, undercharge. But the idea is, because most of them are really bad at reaching mums, as soon as you just start reaching mums and just saying, we exist, that demand is there. And once you've got the demand and you've got, like, every class has 5 people waiting to go in it, you can start raising the prices till you have one person waiting. And if you go from $80 a month to $140 a month, most of that's yours.
It's such an interesting point. And I know that based on what you do, you're looking at specific states, areas, and there's certain crosses where you can't take on multiple clients in one location, right? Because you can't cannibalize your results. So what do you look for in a business owner that you're looking potentially at taking on and helping them with their marketing to know that they're the right fit for you with that scale? Because how do you know someone's not going to chicken out at that growth and say, well, I'm going to turn everything off, or someone who's of the right mindset to say, no, I'm ready for that growth?
I mean, we don't really until we start working with them. I mean, we obviously have a conversation with them before they start. But is there a process that we take them through to kind of figure out whether or not they're going to be? No, I'm not going to say that there is. What we do, and I have fired clients for this, is if they're a combative, difficult client, and that usually can come up in the sales process. We'll say, we don't think we're a good fit for you because we need to work together as a team. This needs to be, we're all pulling in the same direction, not I'm hiring you, then make me rich, and I'm going to sit back here and be angry when you don't. Sure. I'm not looking for that kind of client. I'm looking for a client that I can have my team get in the trenches with you, and we're fighting the battle together. I'm not interested in my team being treated like they're an outside vendor and they're going to miraculously turn your life around. So we're looking for teammates in those areas. And you are right. Like if you're in an area, we won't put in another client within a 10-mile radius of your business. So you doing well and surviving is really important to us, right? Because we're turning down other clients because you're there. And now, do we have waiting lists? Do we have certain areas where there's lots of gyms and we have 3 or 4 people waiting to say, hey, if these people leave, we're ready to go?
Sure.
Yes, that does happen. But we want you to be successful. And I don't care what level you're at. We're going to help you get there. We have a overarching goal of not how many numbers we want or how much money we want to make as a company. We want to help as many gymnastics gyms, help as many little girls and little boys be all they can be. And if we can do a really good job of that, the rest of it takes care of us. So yeah, my biggest thing when it comes down to whether or not we turn business away is, are we going to have a battle?
Yeah.
Or are we going to be working together? If we're going to have a battle, we're not the right people for you because I'm not interested.
Yeah, I think it's important. It's important. And if somebody, because I think often the plateau comes from doing the same thing for such a long time. So it might be that someone's running ads or they have an outreach campaign or they're running something to generate these leads, but they've just hit that plateau. It's not changing. It's not moving. What would you do when somebody already has a campaign moving?
Right. Well, oftentimes it's a problem with what are you doing with the leads. And with Kai, which is our AI, we've actually found that sometimes if you just plug the AI into your business, all of a sudden the incoming inquiries are being dealt with. All of a sudden it's automatically booking up your free trial classes. All of a sudden things start happening, which were being missed because, quite frankly, even larger gyms will have front desks run by part-timers and they're only manned maybe between 2 o'clock in the afternoon and 7 o'clock at night. What happens before 2 o'clock? What happens after it's 7 o'clock? After 7 o'clock is where a lot of leads come in. A lot of times a lead will come in on a Sunday. A lot of times it will be Sunday at 9 o'clock at night after mum's put the kids to bed and was like, God, I'm sick of these kids. I need to put them somewhere. And they see your ad and they reach out. If you don't reach out to them within 5 minutes of them reaching out to you, it's going to be much harder for you to get them into the business. Now you can, but there's a whole lot of work that you have to do manually to get them into the business. But if your AI is trained up and ready to roll, that mum reaches out to you, 30 seconds, they get a response. There can be a whole discourse go on between them. Then that mum is signed up to come into your free trial class on a Thursday or Tuesday. And that is basically just uplifting the user experience post the inquiry. So the inquiry comes in and all of a sudden you're taking care of them in a really professional, quick, accurate way. And the AI can do that for you.
So for somebody in that situation that's got a campaign moving, the first port of call for you is plug the back end, make sure you're not losing any leads, you're not losing anything through the back end, get the additional revenue at the same time as improving the ad campaign? How does that process work?
If the ad campaign needs to be improved, I mean, if your ad's already bringing in loads of inquiries, oftentimes the ad's doing its job. Now, we'll look at it to make sure that there are inquiries of people with children that want to sign up. They're not like weirdos and stuff.
Hen-dos.
So as long as if it's a campaign that's generating the stuff, usually the problem is going to be what are you doing with those? Because most gyms are not set up, most kids' activity centers are not set up to handle the inquiries. And it's a lot. And let's say you're a small dance school. Oftentimes small dance schools might only have 2 or 3 employees in the place at any one time, and there might not be a front desk. Well, what's going to happen when that mum calls or emails or texts or whatever, if they're not being responded to right then, what's probably going to happen is the owner or the manager or whatever finishes the classes and then goes and sees the messages and then has to start calling and reaching out. And that mom might have reached out at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You're not reaching back until 6:30. She's moved on. She's cooking. She's putting kids to bed.
Or your competitors replied.
Or the competitors replied, which is actually more likely.
Yeah.
But oftentimes your competitors are in the same boat. And what you're competing against is just mum's attention. Mum might have 3 kids. She might have a 1-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 7-year-old, right? So she's going to school. She's going to dental appointments. She's going to, shopping. She's doing all sorts of stuff, cleaning the house, doing whatever mums do. And then you got mums who have jobs on top of being mums, because the mum stuff doesn't stop.
Yeah.
So are you reaching out to her when she's thinking about you?
And slim window.
Yeah. And if you don't, it's a battle to get back in front of her. And she might go to someone else, but it's more likely that she'll just not think about it, and it will be months and months before she revisits it.
And then she'll forget who you are anyway.
Yep.
Okay. So if a business owner is in that situation, then where's the first easy step? Where do they go from here? What's the first thing for them to do to just start breaking that plateau?
Call us. We'll fix it for them.
Done deal.
No, I mean, really, the technology now, I think all kids activity centers, doesn't matter what kind of staffing levels you have, even if you got full-time employees sitting at your front desk, unless your full-time employees are working till midnight every day, even on Saturday, on Christmas days and all those kind of days, you're missing opportunity. And the cost of an AI, at least our AI, is the cost of 1 hour of a full-time employee a day, right?
Wow.
So, and that AI will be working 24/7, 365 days of the year, and it can talk to 25 people all at the same time, and you can train it to talk with your voice. So it can talk like your kids' activity center in the way that you feel that it needs to be. Now, it can take a couple of months to get it perfect, to be exactly how you want it to be. But each time you improve it, it stays improved. Unlike an employee that you train and they make mistakes and so forth.
Have an off day.
It doesn't have off days. It just gets better and better and better and better. So I do highly recommend that. One of the biggest things with the new influx of this new technology, every kids activity center needs to have an AI system with which your front desk uses. So it's not a system that's set and forget. Your front desk comes in at 2:00 in the afternoon and they start checking all the conversations are going, okay, did that get done? Did that get done? Has that been done? Oh, I need more reviews. Let's send out a couple of reviews to some happy clients that I've just had conversations with.
Yeah.
And this whole Kai system will do that for you, but you've got to operate it. It's not totally hands-free, but what it does is that one part-time employee that works from 2 till like 5 or 6, all of a sudden you're turning them into a 24/7, 365-day, multiple skill set employee through this one system. And we're seeing through our clients, it's a real game changer. It's like totally changing the way that the client's experience is delivered.
Even with that, because then your front desk person then becomes better at the face-to-face interactions. You get more repeat business, more retention, and happier customers because they're not stressed out having to reply to messages half-hearted because they're so busy with the people in front of them and the people on the screen.
Or more likely just not responding to their messages at all.
Or just not responding.
Right.
Exactly.
Because if you've got a busy gym and you've got lots of mums coming in between certain hours, the incoming inquiries from those mums that you hope would say, oh, I've got front desk people. But if you've got a busy gym and you're going to have mums coming to the front desk asking about different things, those messages that are coming in or those calls that are coming in or those inquiries that are coming in are not going to be responded to within 5 minutes, which is the optimal time for actually something to happen. If you respond to them in 15 minutes, that mum might already be out the door, might already be going somewhere else, might already have forgotten about it, might already have her phone down and she's in the laundry or out the back or taking a kid to some soccer practice or something and you've missed that opportunity. So, and that's not because your front desk is not good, it's because they were taking care of the people in front of them.
Yeah. So if somebody wants some help with exactly what you've spoken about there, what do they do? How do they get in contact with the team?
They go to creativelydisruptive.com and they can talk to Kai. Which is on and say, hey, I'm a gym or dance, and it will talk you through what your problems and issues are, and then it will book you a time to speak with our team, and the team will reach out to you and we'll solve all your problems.
Awesome.
Simple as that.